Hello, and welcome back to the Top of Off podcast. We've taken a bit of a break in between the Test series, but we are delighted to welcome you back to start our coverage of the second Test series of the summer, India versus Pakistan.
India versus Pakistan.
Oh, not India, England versus Pakistan.
We haven't had one of those for a while. When was the last time we had an India-Pakistan Test series?
I don't know, actually.
A while.
It must have
That's
been a while ago.
one for the stats, man. England versus Pakistan.
England
This
versus
is
Pakistan.
an episode I'm calling our Back to the Future episode because we are both looking back on the Ireland ODI series and looking into the future, into the mystic about the Pakistan series, which begins in, when we are recording this, it begins in an hour.
Yeah.
So we left it really late. But, we are bringing you that quality content all the time.
Yep, we're here now. But this should be a cracker of a series. It's going to be really exciting and something to look forward to for definite. But as we said, we will first look just a bit. We're going to touch just a bit on the ODI series between England and Ireland, which finished yesterday evening, so Tuesday evening. We're going to look back on that first. And then we're going to look forward at the England-Pakistan series and give our takes on that. So, Jacob, do you want to do a quick sort of reminder of what the scores were for the series?
Of the ODIs, yeah. I certainly can do. So, in the first ODI, which was on the 30th of July, England got out to a very strong start, actually. They bowled first, I believe. They bowled Ireland all out for 172 off 44.4 overs with David Willey, a renewed and vital David Willey, taking his first ODI fifer. The highest scorer for Ireland in that innings was the debutant Camphor with 59. He was a real find of this series. We can discuss him in a minute. And then England pretty comfortably chased down that 172 with Billings top scoring. Another person who was left out and then came back in with kind of renewed fire. Billings not out on 76, leading the way for England to chase down 172 in just 27.5 overs, leaving England the victors by 6 wickets. The second ODI then took place on the 1st of August. Ireland again batted first. I believe England put them into bat again.
Yeah.
And they managed to go the whole 50 overs this time with a total of 212 for 9. Camphor again was their top scorer on 68 before he was caught by Rashid off the bowling of Saqib Mahmood. Then England got a big boost from one of the openers, Johnny Bairstow, scored 82. And then there were handy nearly 50s, 46 and 47 respectively, from Billings again and Willey again, leading England to chase down that total in 32.3 overs. So another comfortable win for England, winning by 4 wickets, even though they did lose 6.
Yeah.
And then, finally, the third ODI, with England 2-0 up in the series, took place yesterday on the 4th of August. England went into bat first this time. I can't remember who won the toss. And they were bowled all out for 328 off 49.5 overs. So pretty much the 50 overs, and a big total. There was 100 from Captain Morgan, and there were 50s from Tom Banton and David Willey. Going back to Camphor, he took 2 wickets, so he really is kind of an all-rounder going around. However, Ireland, in a shocking change of form, really chased this down quite comfortably in 49.5 overs, but with so 1 ball to spare, a bit of a thriller, but centuries from Paul Stirling and Andrew Balbirnie. They made 142 and 113 respectively, which are, big scores.
Yeah.
leading Ireland to chase that down with 1 ball to spare. So big upset. It was Ireland who won the toss and put England into bat first. So it seems kind of in this series, whoever bowled first was the victor. So yeah, it was an interesting series.
It was
Obviously, ODI cricket is not our bag, as Austin Powers would say.
yeah,
But yeah, it was good. It was interesting. There were a couple of nice little themes, especially with on the Ireland side, Camphor being kind of discovered as this fantastic Irish all-rounder who will hit a 50 and then take a couple of wickets, which is very useful in the ODI. Also very useful in Test match cricket. So next time we see Ireland play a Test, that would be interesting. But also this kind of renewed vitality of people like Willie and Billings, and how that may be compared to people like Vince and Ali, who have also been away from the side for a little bit.
Yeah,
didn't really come back in.
They didn't give the best accounts of themselves, and especially because I think, especially with Moeen Ali, given that he was appointed vice captain for this series, he hasn't really performed, and it doesn't really reflect very well on him. I do think that he probably has, because the question we have to ask is that both James Vince and Moeen Ali haven't performed this series. You know, they both got out cheaply. Moeen hasn't taken that many wickets as well. So is this the end? Is this the last we've seen of them in international cricket? Because obviously they aren't first choice in the Test side. There was hopes that because they weren't first choice in the Test sides, they'd be able to come into the ODI side and perform there. That hasn't happened. So is this it? I would say personally for James Vince, I think this is it. You know, he's had so many chances. I think that's the end. And he made scores of I think the highest score he's made was 30 or around 30. So he hasn't really performed this series. So I think that's it for him. I think for Moeen Ali though, he probably gets a couple more chances because his bowling is still all right. His batting needs major work, but that's needed major work for ages. But I think his bowling will keep him in this side.
Well, here's a stat for you though, which slightly contradicts that.
Okay.
In this ODI series, hang on, let me just check the scorecard in terms of runs. So sorry, I will have a stat for you in a minute. But Moeen Ali, we know he's a bowling all-rounder. His batting hasn't really been up to it recently, but this stat is not very good for him in that, so he got a duck in the second ODI. He didn't bat in the first ODI. He got 1 in the third ODI. So actually, you said James Vince doesn't get another chance and Moeen does. James Vince both scored more runs and took more wickets than Moeen Ali in this ODI series. James Vince took 1, Moeen took none. So he didn't take a wicket, and I think, the biggest score he made was 1, and he made a duck, and then he didn't bat because England chased down the total. So when James Vince is taking more wickets than you as a bowling all-rounder and scoring more runs than you kind of got to look at yourself, because James Vince is a man who is not renowned for scoring big runs in international cricket. He is a man who has the curse of exactly what happened to him in this game. Scores 10, 20, 30, and then finds a way somehow to get out. But he did take a wicket. I think he had a better economy rate than Moeen in that game. I'll have a look. But he took more wickets. He made more runs. So it's not good for him, for Moeen rather.
It
really doesn't look good for him.
It really wasn't the best performance for him. There's major questions that you have to ask, because he seems to have this trend of, he goes into a bad patch, takes some time out, he comes back and for a couple of games does really well, and then it's back to the same mistakes, and then he takes some more time out and it repeats the cycle again. And it's not a very sustainable cycle. because this has been happening really since the Ashes series in 2017, and really since then he's had weaknesses, and since then his technique has been exposed. Yeah, so yeah, it's really not looking good for him at all.
Yeah, especially with very interesting spinning options in both the ODI and the test side. So in the test side, he was in the running for that test side, and he basically got beat out by Don Bess and Jack Leach. He was kind of the third choice going into that test.
I mean, there was
series.
a lot of confidence going in, especially to those warm-up games that they had before the West Indies series. There was a lot of confidence going in that he'd found his form again because he took some time off over the winter, and people were saying that there was a real there was a real undertone of expectation there. And there was a lot of expectation around him, and this sort of thing, this sort of thought that finally he'll be able to come back, and finally, him taking time off has worked, and this is it. He's gonna be back in the test side. And then in those warm-up games, he didn't do as well as people expected, and it was almost like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, and then in the ODI side, Rashid, the last couple of years, is having the best years of his career.
Yeah.
He's bowling absolutely fantastically. And to the extent that he's now one they're kind of talking about and going, just kind of, if his shoulder strengthens up, he's had some time off, his shoulder looks a bit better. And just the way he's taken a bit of pace off and stuff, he looks sort of like he could be good for Test cricket as well.
Yeah,
maybe we could look at that.
I'd be hesitant there, but no, it's definitely discussions that are being had. But then obviously he's made it clear himself, that his personal choice is that he just doesn't want to play red ball cricket.
Yeah, but if he wants to do it and he's up to it, then absolutely they should do it. But
yeah,
he's having a great time in the ODI side, and I think I couldn't name any, but there's surely some kind of young spinner. Matt Parkinson's another one. He's an up and coming spinner, or he's a leg spinner as well. But you only really need one spinner, supposedly.
Yeah.
Conventional wisdom dictates. So you've got Matt Parkinson coming up. You've got a nice battery of fast bowlers coming up. People like Pat Brown and
this is the other sort of mark that goes against Moeen, is that you only really need one spinner, or that as you said, the conventional wisdom is that you only really use one spinner, and you only really select one spinner. And when you have a spinner that is doing so consistently well as Adil is, and if you have new ones that are coming through, then Moeen's primary place in the team is for his batting. His bowling comes secondary. Even if he prefers his bowling, for the team, his bowling comes secondary. So if his batting isn't up to scratch, then his place in this team comes into question.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this kind of split of ODI and so on doesn't continue, you've got guys coming back in from the test team. Joe Root's a part-time spinner, so he can kind of, he's not as good as Moeen Ali, but he bats better. And he can kind of chuck a few down the other end for a few overs, try and restrict the scoring, not be too expensive. So, that's a problem for Moeen Ali, and I think he needs probably, I imagine he'll get selected for the next ODI, T20 series, whatever it is.
I mean, the next one is against Australia. Well, hopefully.
No, it's against Pakistan. There's a T20 series.
Is that? Oh, yeah. It's Pakistan and then Australia after. Well, that's if Australia still do come down, because they might not now.
But I think the Pakistan T20 series is probably a big one for Moeen. He needs to perform well there. And if he doesn't, then he's got a bit of a problem in terms of getting selected. Because the selectors might start saying, well, we could either bring in a better batsman who's going to score some runs, or we could bring in someone like Matt Parkinson and see if he can spin better than you. We'll have a look. Now, the toss for England-Pakistan Test series, is in about 10 minutes. So
Should we do our team
I'm going to
selections?
pivot very sharply.
Yeah.
We can come back to the ODI series if you want, but we're going to pivot very sharply for a
I
moment.
mean, I think we've got one more thing we'll say afterwards about the ODI series, but I think other than that, we've pretty much covered it.
We're going to pivot sharply for a moment to the Test series and talk about who we think is going to be the team, who's going to be in the teams for today's first Test match. So we'll go through it, and then when the toss happens in 10 minutes, I will read about it on my phone or something, and I will tell you if we are right.
Right.
So this is our little competition through the pod. So if you'd like to get your teams up, gentlemen.
I have mine.
Okay. Who should go first?
You want to go first, and then I will go second.
I'm going to go with. I've got my England team first, because that's the one I feel is easier. Partly because there's a lot of new players in the Pakistan team, and partly because we don't know as much about Pakistan.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully we will become. I've been watching their stuff, but I hope to become a bit more of an expert as this Test series goes on.
I've been doing a bit of reading, but anyway.
Anyway, yes, I've got Burns and Sibley opening.
Yeah.
Crawley at 3, Root at 4, Stokes, Pope, Butler, Dom Bess, Jofra Archer, Stuart Broad, and Jimmy Anderson.
Dom Bess, Jofra Archer, Stuart Broad, and Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah.
It's sort of give everyone a chance so you don't annoy anyone.
Well, I think you can't at this point. You can't leave out Stuart Broad.
Yeah.
You probably can't leave out Jimmy Anderson, and you want the extra pace of Archer, even though he doesn't like Old Trafford so much. You know, I'm really tempted to put Wokes in there. I would like to see Wokes in there.
It is a very bowling heavy lineup. That. You've taken away one batsman.
Yeah, but I think the batting can be good enough. Hopefully, that's a kiss of death. But I would like to see Chris Wokes instead of Jofra Archer. But this is what I think is going to happen. I think Jofra Archer will be in, partly because he's a good bowler, and partly because they want that extra pace. But if you look at the Ashes and the last 2 tests, he hasn't really liked Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be significant. So on to Pakistan. I have kind of familiarised myself with their order, and they've got some really, really good players.
Oh, they've got some cracking players.
So Shan Masood is opening for me with Abid Ali. Shan Masood, a fantastic player.
He's actually not in the squad, I don't think.
He is, I think. The squad I got on Wikipedia, he's in it.
Okay.
I didn't see him at first, but he's opened in their last 3 Test matches and he's scored centuries. So I don't see how he'd be dropped unless he's injured.
Maybe it's just where I'm getting. Oh yeah, he is in here. I've just seen him. Yeah, I didn't see him.
So Shan Masood is my opener with Abid Ali. Abid Ali, I have a stat for you, and you've got to guess this one. He has played 3 Test matches, so it's obviously a very small sample size, his career average. But bearing in mind that the best players in the world, people like Steve Smith and Ben Stokes at the moment, they're all averaging about 62 at the moment. What do you think in his short 3 Test career, Abid Ali averages?
65?
107. He has a Test career average of 107. Which, if you just take the figures out of context, makes him the best player in the history of the world. So obviously it's probably not sustainable, but in his last 3 Test matches, the only 3 Test matches, he has scored centuries in all of them. And so, that's I think actually, no, he didn't score one in the last one because Pakistan, I think he got a duck in the Pakistan first innings and then they beat Bangladesh by an innings and something, so they didn't bat again. Anyway, that's fantastic from Abid Ali, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. Then Azhar Ali, the captain at 3, the illustrious and I cannot think of enough superlatives Babar Azam at 4.
Oh,
He
oh,
is
what a
a
player! What a player!
fantastic player. Then Asad Shafiq at 5.
Yeah,
And then I've gone for a bit of a controversial choice because
go on.
previously, if I can just look it up actually, uh, at did I get up to 5?
Yeah, yeah, you got up to Babar Azam.
Okay, well Asad Shafiq is at 5, and then previously, so in their last test against Bangladesh,
Yeah,
and I think in their 2 tests against Sri Lanka, at 6 they had Haris Sahel.
yeah, yeah.
Now I have removed Haris Sahel.
Oh, okay.
No slight against him; he's a very good player.
Mm,
And I don't know how likely this is, and this was meant to be who I think will play,
yeah,
but I just have a feeling in the waters that Imam ul Haq might play, and he's usually an opening batsman.
yeah,
He's usually an opening batsman, but he's not cracking that opening pair.
yeah, yeah.
3 and 4 is kind of taken. I think they'll, like
So,
Ollie
so
Pope,
you think they'll
they'll
push
start
him
him
down the
down the
order
order.
a bit?
They'll push him down the order because he hasn't really found his feet in Test cricket yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But he's a very good player. We've seen him in one day and so on. He's really good. And I think
Mm.
they might give him a game. Then at 7, the wicketkeeper, I've got Mohammed Rizwan.
You're gonna, so
But
you're gonna, you won't be playing Safras as a
no,
wicketkeeper.
because Mohammed Rizwan has been playing for them in their last few tests.
Okay.
So just based on form, I think Mohammed
Yeah,
Rizwan will come in. Safraz, obviously a former captain and so on, but
yeah,
I think Mohammed Rizwan, especially now that Safraz isn't captain anymore, now that it's Azhar Ali,
yeah,
I think Rizwan will go in. Then, because Old Trafford is a bit of a spinning pitch, I'm going to have Yasir Shah at 8.
yeah.
Interestingly, I looked at their squad. I don't think Wahab Riaz is in there.
Wahab, where Riaz isn't in the squad? No, no.
That's sad. He was meant to be in it, I think.
Yeah, it's very
That's a
interesting.
real shame. I don't know what's happened to him. But Yasir Shah, because
Yeah,
he adds a bit of experience, he's a very good leg spinner, and the pitch spins.
yeah.
Then the tricky left arm terror, another one off the production line of unbelievable quick left arm
Oh,
bowlers, Shaheen Shah Afridi, who's a very, very good bowler.
yeah. What a bowler.
Um, he combined with the man I've got at number 11, I think in their last 3 test matches, Shaheen Afridi basically always took 5 in the first innings,
Yeah,
and the man I have at number 11 basically always took 5 in the second innings. So at 10, I've got Mohammed Abbas,
yeah,
fantastic bowler. Career economy rate of something like 2.4.
yeah.
Really low economy rate. He doesn't get hit for many runs, and he takes wickets. He's a very good bowler.
He can, yeah, he can hold down an end really
And
well.
then at 11, the young rocket, Nassim
Yeah, yeah.
Shah.
If you hadn't included him, I would be very, very disappointed.
Young sensation, youngest player in Test history to get a hat trick.
Yeah.
When he was 17
5 for
years old.
31 last December. He took against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, he's now 18. Shaheen Afridi's
Yeah,
only 20, and between them, I think they took basically 10 wickets a match
yeah.
in the last 3 or 4 tests.
I mean,
So
we say a lot about England having probably one of the world's best pace lineups at the moment, and probably the best pace lineup England have had in their history, or at least in the last sort of 50 years. But Pakistan as well, we mustn't forget, have such a good pace lineup, and their pace attack is, if not the world's best, it's up there as
it's up there.
one of the best
I
in the
don't know
world.
if officially, but I think it's somewhere near 3rd or 4th in
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the rankings.
And obviously,
Um,
it's not the best pace lineup they've had in their history, but it's definitely up there as one of the best.
it's a fantastic bowling lineup they have,
Yeah.
and I think it's the strongest. With the exception of Australia last year, it's the strongest we've faced for a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
of
it's
time.
going to be a real test.
It's definitely the strongest Pakistani bowling lineup we've faced for a little bit of time. Although our
Yeah.
last series against them with Mohammed Amir and so on, we had trouble. But I think this is a really, really good
Oh, it's going to be a massive test.
bowling lineup, and they've got, unlike the West Indies, they've got the batting to back it up. They've got
Yeah.
a fantastic opening partnership. then Azhar Ali, who's a great player at 3, Babar Azam, who's magnificent at 4. He's right up there with the world's best. So I think they've got a strong enough batting lineup.
And also,
if England don't get through them quickly, they're going to be made to pay.
Definitely. But also, I think that there's. I think it's no slight on the West Indies, but I do think this Pakistan team will probably be in better physical shape and have better conditioning. And what that will mean is that they will be able to play 3 tests back to back, and we won't see the sort of drop off that they had that the West Indies had. So it's going to be a big test.
The toss is in 3 minutes, so quickly do your team. I'm going to turn off my laptop charger, but I will be hearing you, so carry on.
So my team, my England team is Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root, Stokes, Pope, Butler, and then getting into the so the same as you for the batting lineup, and I think the main thing where we differ is in the tail and the bowling attack. Where I will choose Bess, Broad, Wokes, and Jofra. So I'd leave Jimmy out for this test, and I'd bring Jimmy in for the second test, probably in place of Chris Wokes. But he was so good in the last test that you can't leave him out. And so that's the one place where I differ from you. Is instead of Jimmy, I'd put Chris Wokes in. And then for the Pakistan team, I would choose Shan Masood, Azhar Ali.
I refuse to believe that Shan Masood was in your original team, seeing as you didn't know he was in the squad.
He wasn't. I didn't. That was actually a gap I left. I was gonna fill that in. It was actually going to be Imam first, I'll tell you. But now that you've said, Shan Masood, Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, and I found out the other day, Babar Azam, since the start of 2018, no one has an average higher than him in world cricket.
Oh, wow.
He's really
You're leaving
good.
out Abid Ali?
No, I'll put him in as number 4.
He's an opener.
Okay, 1 sec.
He's opened for them in all of his 3 test matches, and Azhar Ali bats 3.
Right, so it'll be Abid Ali. And you know what? I'm going to go with my original selection. It's going to be Abid, Imam ul Haq, Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, and then number 4 I will play. 1 sec. Let me just.
Wait, sorry. Go over that again because I think you've got 5.
Have I got 5? Wait, no, I've got 4. This is turned into a fast. Imam ul Haq.
Okay.
Abid Ali, Azhar Ali, Babar Azam.
Yep.
That's 4.
Then at 5.
Wait, what?
Then at 5.
Yeah. Give me a second.
If you can tell, viewers, we're supremely organised in all this. I told you we're not great experts on Pakistani Test cricket.
This is what happens when we have to.
While you're waiting, I can report to you from the ground of the first test that apparently the lights are on at Old Trafford. It's very muggy and overcast.
Okay.
So there may be.
So do you think that the team who wins the toss will opt to bat? Or bowl?
It may be one to lose and be stuck in the field. Also, there's apparently rumours that Pakistan will play both Shadab Khan and Yasir Shah as wrist spinners.
2 spinners? Interesting.
Anyway, carry on with your
with my team. Okay. So anyway, I had Imam, Abid Ali, Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, and then 5 I would play. I'm going to keep Haris Sahel in because I think he's all right. So 5 I'd keep him. Wicket keeper Mohammed Rizwan.
Play an extra bowler.
Yeah. For this pitch, yeah.
Okay.
I think both teams are going to go very bowler heavy. It's like the third test. I think they need to do the same. Yeah, and then I would play Shaheen Shah Afridi, obviously Yasir Shah as the spinner,
Yeah.
Mohamed Abbas, and
Hmm.
then one more, last one has been Naseem Shah.
I think you're missing one.
Am I missing one?
You're missing a number. If you've got Rizwan at number 6,
I got
then
Rizwan, and then so that was 6, and then 7 was Yasir Shah,
yeah, 8
Mohamed
was Afridi.
Abbas,
Okay, Abbas,
Afridi,
Afridi, Shah.
Naseem Shah.
You need one more.
I need one more. Yes.
Shadab Khan, perchance,
Yeah,
or you put Asad Shafiq back in as a batsman.
I'd put Shafiq back in as a batsman, I would say.
Okay, so your team's pretty similar to mine then, except you think Imam is going to open.
I do
And
think, yeah.
Shah Masood will not be in the team.
Maybe this is because, and I mean, probably I'm going to be wrong, but I think it's because I saw him back when they were last in England 2 years ago, and he's just a very good player. He is a very good player, and also I love that he bats with his glasses on still.
Okay, I have news.
Ooh,
Pakistan have won the toss and chosen to bat.
that is very surprising, given
So
the
it's an
apex.
interesting. Well, it's an interesting with the conditions, but we don't know what the pitch is like.
Yeah, true.
So team news forthcoming shortly. Until then,
Till
we've
then,
argued enough and made enough of a fool of ourselves about who we've got.
I think next time is a case of I think the research needs to be done. Our research needs to be done more.
I just hope we don't end up playing Zimbabwe or someone. I won't have a clue. Anyway, yes. So quickly back to the ODI.
Okay, very quickly.
That one thing you wanted to talk about.
Ireland won the last game by 7 wickets, and they won it, and it was a really good performance by them. So, I mean, obviously England cruised through the rest of the series, and and they won the first 2 games and won the series. How good is it that Ireland won that last game? How much does that give them a shot in the arm and a boost of confidence?
I think it's helpful to Ireland in that you don't. There's nothing worse than a whitewash. You don't want to kind of go down 3-0 and look like you've been outclassed. They're against the world champions. No one was expecting them to win the series, but to put on a thrilling match like that, a last ball win with big scores from key players, I think that was really good for them, and it will give them a lot of confidence that Paul Sterling, their opener, got out quite early in both the previous 2 ODIs. It's like if he can stay in, he can make we know he can make huge scores. Same for Balbirnie. If he stays in, he's got the capability to make those big scores.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think the biggest thing for Ireland was the discovery of Camphor.
He just came out of nowhere.
He debuted and made. I think he made 150 odd runs in the series.
Yeah.
He did really, really well. He was very reliable. He took wickets, big wickets at big time. If I check the scorecard, I think he took some significant people. If I just get on that, but he did really well. So that's a big thing for Ireland, the discovery of a future player. Yeah, he took Banton twice in the first 2 ODIs. He got Vince. And then in the third ODI, he got Moeen and David Willey on his 50. So he's taken some pretty significant.
It was a pretty good performance. Yeah,
he's performed really well.
And I think you said that if Sterling stays in, he can make good scores and put them in a good position. There's a big parallel there with Jason Roy. That if Jason Roy stays in, England are looking good. But obviously, Jason Roy has had trouble staying in recently. But yeah.
I now have team news on.
Yes, let's hear.
On the Test series. So, England, because Ben Stokes is not fit to bowl.
So they've used an extra bowler.
England are unchanged from the side who played the third Test against the West Indies.
So everyone gets a chance.
I believe that was Chris Wokes, Dom Bess, Jofra, Stewart, and Jimmy as the bowlers, and then Crawley out, and everyone moves up one.
Yeah.
The Ben Stokes played slowly as a batsman. Pakistan have played 2 wrist spinners. They played both Shadab Khan and Yasir Shah. So it'll be interesting to see who out of
So
Yasir
who's
Shah, Shahid Khan, Shaheen Afridi, and Mohammed Abbas they've left out. I don't have
yeah.
full teams at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
They'll
just
be
waiting.
on the live on the live stream, won't they?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to bring it up.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
But that is interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
2
very,
spinners for Pakistan is a unusual decision. You know, it spun quite well at Old Trafford, but
yeah,
not hugely. You know, Rakeem Cornwall, when the West Indies brought him in, he didn't take a wicket. So
yeah.
it's going to be very interesting to see. This is now a completely different matchup. We were, as usual, completely wrong. And
I
yeah,
think that's
can Pakistan spin out England out in this?
yeah.
Well, Pakistan are batting first. Can England bowl Pakistan with this kind of renewed batting lineup?
So if they've got 2 spinners, then yeah, their obvious strategy is that they want to spin England out in the second innings.
Yeah.
But I think that goes against what most people were expecting, which is that it was going to be an assault of pace from both sides, and both sides are going to be tested so much with the pace bowlers.
I have the teams now in
Oh
full.
yes.
So England first, we've got Burns, Sibley, Root at 3, Stokes at 4, Pope at 5, Butler,
Yeah.
Woakes, Bess, Archer, Broad, Anderson.
Yeah.
And then I regret to inform you that Imam is not in the team.
Oh, that's a shame. I've just seen it myself.
Yeah, the opening partnership is Shan Masood and Abid Ali. Azhar Ali, the captain, is at 3. Baba Azam is at 4. Asad Shafiq is at 5. Shadab Khan replaces Harris Sohail at 6 instead of Arman Imam.
Yeah.
Mohammed Rizwan is the wicketkeeper. Yasir Shah is the number 8. Shaheen Afridi, Mohammed Abbas, Naseem Shah. So we were pretty spot on. We just couldn't find someone for that number 6 role, and it's gone to Shadab Khan.
Yeah. So is Shadab Khan instead of Imam, and they've done that for his bowling as well.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very
now
very
we have
interesting.
The teams. Who's going to win?
I think that's the first time we've been wrong live on air, because we've been wrong many times. It's the first time we've been wrong live.
Well, we weren't that wrong. We got pretty much everyone right except number 6. And that could have been anyone from Harris Sohail to Shadab Khan. So.
I think that's a very interesting team from both sides, really. England obviously going because Stokes can't bowl. You know, they're being cautious there, but also they've put a lot of faith into their top order, and I think that faith is justified. I think that Burns and Sibley especially, but Crawley as well, will be able to make some scores. Obviously, that depends on the quality of Pakistan's bowling as well. In terms of Pakistan, I think that they know that they have the batting to back up what they say. I mean, they've got Babar Azam, and they have Azhar Ali as well. You know, they've got some brilliant players as well, and so they also know that they can add an extra bowler, or they can add they can add a bowling all-rounder, and not lose anything from their batting game. But it's really interesting. They've gone with more spin, but it's not like Joe Root type spin. It's actual proper spin.
Yeah, Shadab Khan is a full-on spinner. You know, he's not a specialist spinner. He is a spinning all-rounder, but he's not a part-time.
Oh no, definitely.
You were right in that you said they go with bowler-heavy teams. They have.
Yeah.
Harris Sohail for Shadab Khan is an interesting selection. Harris Sohail is a batting all-rounder who bowls left-arm orthodox, and Shadab Khan, I think, is a bowling all-rounder who bowls right-arm wrist spin, and bats quite well. So it's an interesting lineup, and the dynamics of both these teams, as you said, are bowler-heavy. I've just
seen that on the live stream that they've got Azhar Ali's just made a sort of comment. He said, obviously the overhead conditions will help the bowlers, but we are very clear in our heads that we want to bat first. Because of the composition of the team, we wanted an all-rounder, which also means we'll have 2 leg spinners. Yeah, so
interesting. So the overheads are looking good for England today.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what we
They
saw
need
in the
to
last Test
take
series
full advantage.
what we saw in the last Test series is that the overheads kind of dictated the game.
Yeah.
The West Indies, on both occasions they went into bowl, said, look, the pitch is dry, the pitch looks a bit more batting focused, but the overheads we saw say bowl, and we saw that it was a really kind of odd situation at Old Trafford where if it was dark and overcast, the ball would swing quite considerably, and then as soon as the sun came out, the ball was dead. The ball was completely dead.
Definitely.
And so the West Indies managed to swing the ball for 80 overs with overcast conditions. And then England came on, and within 20 overs, it was doing nothing.
Yeah.
So
I think
these overhead conditions, as we said earlier, this may have been a toss to lose. And I think Joe Root,
I think Joe Root will be probably the happier of the 2 captains. I think obviously with Azhar Ali, I mean, Joe Root is coming off the back of a series win. It's also at home for him, so there is less pressure on him to get the toss right than there is for Azhar Ali, because he's touring away from home. It's such a unique time as well. But also,
this Pakistan team are, of course, used to touring away from home.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's something we'll have to consider. We will have to consider in future episodes, you know, when we cover this series, if the lack of a home crowd is going to actually work in Pakistan's favour, because they've had that for years and years now. But yeah, let's see. But also, I did want to say, I think that I don't know. There'll be a lot of people that are saying that now that are saying that Azhar Ali should have chosen to bowl first, you know, and maybe he made the wrong decision in the toss. But I think you have to remember that there is pressure on him as a visiting captain. If fundamentally in Test cricket, the team who bats first usually wins. So he's just gone with the grain here, even if the conditions here don't support that.
So I think this is a very evenly poised matchup.
Oh yeah, definitely.
England will be happy to bowl. Pakistan will be happy to bat.
Oh yeah.
And we'll just have to see how it goes. And I
think just see what happens.
Have a good chance.
Yeah.
However, I believe you have a new segment.
I do. So this is something we're going to try out. This is the first time we've tried it out. If it works, we will continue. If not, then you won't hear it. We're just going to remove it from the record, and you'll forget that it ever even existed.
Tell us if it's rubbish, you know.
So this is a segment called 90 mile an hour take. And what the idea of this segment is that one of us will bring a very sort of strongly worded, very, very, very strong take that might be, or it won't be controversial, but it might go against the grain. And we're gonna give a short sort of 1 or 2 minute explanation of why we think what we think with that take, and then the other person will respond and tell us either why we're wrong or why they agree with us. So I will, so I'll go first today, and then Jacob, you'll be going tomorrow or whenever we next use this, or if we use it at all. So my 90 mile an hour take today is that Babar Azam has the best cover drive in the world, and is the most stylish player in the world. And we look at players like Virat Kohli or Kumar Sangakkara, Brian Lara, Alistair Cook as well. When we're talking about stylish players, when we're talking about great cover drives, we look at players like that, especially Kumar Sangakkara. You know, he's probably one of the best cover drives in the modern game. We look at them, but I want to add a new name to that list, and that's Babar Azam, because I've been reading about him and watching some videos as well. And from what I know of him, you know, from when I've seen him play, he's such a stylish player. You know, not only does he score runs, but he scores them in one of the most aesthetically pleasing ways possible. And his cover drive, if you watch video, you can find compilations on YouTube of just him batting his cover drive for like 4 or 5 minutes straight. It's spectacular. Yeah, it's such a good shot that he has. He plays really good on the offside. So yes, I think that his cover drive is better than Virat Kohli's, and I think it's the best in the world. Saying that, I also think he's probably probably the most stylish player in the game at the moment in terms of how he plays. You know, he does play really well. His average is higher than everyone else in the game since the start of 2018. You know, he's made some spectacular scores. He did really well in the winter as well. So yes, my 90 mile an hour take is that Baba Azam's cover drive is the best in the world.
This is, I thought you said they wouldn't be that controversial. This is, for any of our listeners who have no idea what this is about and are newbies to cricket, this matters. This is a point of principle.
I'm touching nerves like
us. I am going to disagree. I will agree on one thing. I think he should be added to the list of the most stylish players in the world and best cover drives in the world. I don't think he should be at the top of the list.
Okay.
I think he's a fantastic player. He's a very stylish player, and as you said, his average is spectacular.
Oh, it's great.
However, I think first of all, it's significant that he gets compared to Kohli for his cover drive. Kohli doesn't get compared to him. Kohli, maybe because Kohli came first, but Kohli is a spectacular cover driver of the ball. He has the exact textbook cover drive. I want to throw Joe Root in there. He's got a great cover drive.
Yeah.
He holds the pose really nicely. He's got a very good one. It's very attractive. Are you sure you didn't find these compilations on like the deepest, darkest corner of the internet? No. It's all on YouTube. It's all family friendly and stuff. But it's a very nice cover drive.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw another name into the mix. Not renowned as an offside player, and not renowned as a particularly regular cover driver of the ball. But I think Steve Smith has a fantastic cover drive.
I wouldn't call him stylish, though, would I?
It's unorthodox, and he doesn't bring it out much. But I think he's got a very interesting one. Rory Burns is another person, left-handed cover drive. Again, a really weird cover drive. His wrists kind of flick into it, and his position's all weird. It's not traditionally aesthetically pleasing, but I think it's really nice in a way. And I'm going to say the best cover drive in the world, you can't beat him. At the moment, the best cover drive in the world belongs to Virat Kohli. And there's nothing I
think this is a debate. It is. I think personally, it is Babar Azam or Virat Kohli in terms of cover drives in the modern game, or of players still playing. Because in the modern game, one of the best is Kumar Sangakkara.
Sachin had a fantastic one as well.
Yeah, Sachin as well.
Had a fantastic version of every shot.
Yeah.
Every shot Sachin played was textbook and executed perfectly. But currently playing, I think Kohli's got to get it.
Yeah. I think that they're tied at the top. I think Babar Azam and Virat Kohli are tied at the top, and I think, just because they also play it very differently, in that Babar Azam follows through all the way, so his back comes all the way up, whereas Kohli stops. He sort of stops halfway and keeps them. Sort of stops, almost pauses and freezes to keep the momentum on the ball. But I do like Babar Azam.
It still races for four.
Oh no, it does. It does. It's just very stop-start. Whereas if we're looking at pure style, Babar Azam, where he follows the batter through, is a really flowing technique. It's just you can't beat that on style.
He's a very good, stylish player. Thank you for that, Pav. Come back tomorrow for my 90 mile an hour take. I'm sure I can make it just as controversial. But let's finish off now, because there's 10 minutes until the Test series starts.
Yeah.
Predictions for this series and this match. We can go with all that.
I would say this series. They're two very evenly matched teams. Pakistan, actually, in terms of in the last 10 years of touring sides to England, they have the best record in Test matches. They have a better win percentage than anyone else who's come to England. Australia, India, anyone. So it's going to be tough for England. But I do think that it's going to be a lot tighter of a series than the West Indies one was. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if there was a game that was drawn, and if this series is drawn. because of just how good these two teams are and how they can bat if they need to. But I would say that my money would be on England winning the series, but it's going to be a close run thing. In terms of this match, it all depends on what happens today and whether Azhar Ali's decision to bat first, to bowl first decision to bat first was the right one. If they get out cheaply today, then it's going to be very hard for them to win this game. If it proves that, if that decision proves the right one and they actually bat for days, then they're going to be all right.
I think the overheads, the fact that England have played 2 matches at Old Trafford already, the fact that they played a Test series already, I think England will take this match. And as we've seen England get stronger and stronger seemingly throughout Test series, I think England will take this match, and then I'm going to call 2-1 to England. It'll be close. I don't think anything will be easy. There may well be a drawn match and a drawn series, but I'm going to say England will manage to win one of the Test matches in Southampton, and then Pakistan in one of them will probably wreck England. And so it'll be very close. I'd like to see, as we saw with the West Indies, most of the games go to day 5. I'd like to see the game still be on the line, the series still be on the line in the 5th day of the 3rd Test. But I think England will take it 2-1.
I agree with you there. I think it will either be a drawn series or a very slight England win. But Pakistan will definitely win a Test because they're just too good in England sometimes, and they are just a step up. And obviously the West Indies are a really good team, but Pakistan are they're just more advanced in their development, as we said last time. And so I think that because of that, it just presents just a bigger challenge to England, and it's going to be one that's going to be very hard for this team or very challenging at least for this England team to fight against. But also at the same time, saying that it's going to be great to have them here. And obviously this wouldn't have happened had the PCB not agreed to come down. So it's really important that they've come down, and I do hope that, as we said last time, obviously we'll look back on this at the end of the series as well, but I do hope that this is now the start of tours back to Pakistan, because it's a safer place than it was 10 years ago. And I think that there just needs to be some confidence put into the country, and if we get a team like England or a team like Australia down there, obviously India is a different question, but if you get a team like England or Australia down there, it's going to do so much for Test cricket in the country.
Well, I think that's a good point to finish on. Thank you so much for the PCB for bringing us a fantastic Test series in England, which will be, I'm sure, will be great. And
definitely.
I as you say, I really want to see people go to Pakistan. So
definitely.
Let's finish there. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
And there is 5 minutes to go before the first Test begins, so we will join you once day 1 of the first Test is over for our overview of the day. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we hope you're looking forward to this coverage as much as we are.